Hey everyone, you're watching We Had That, and today I'm going to talk about the 1992 Wave 11 G.I. Joe figure Big Bear, the anti-armor specialist for the Oktober Guard. I was a huge fan of G.I. Joe as a kid. I loved the toys, and I read the comics every month. The Marvel comic books were designed to make kids want the toys that were about to come out. But the comics often told stories about characters that Hasbro had no intention of making into toys, and sometimes those were amazing characters that I really wanted as action figures. Even starting with issue number 1 in 1982, the comic book included the Baroness, who wasn't made into a figure until the third wave in 1984. Characters like Quinn started with issue number 2, and Dr. Venom, beginning with issue number 10, were made into action figures long after I'd stopped playing with G.I. Joe, yet they were regular characters in the comic books when I was growing up. The Oktober Guard was another example of a cool team of characters from the comics that I would have loved to pick up as a kid, but there were no Oktober Guard figures until after I had stopped playing with G.I. Joe. The Oktober Guard first appeared in Marvel G.I. Joe comics in 1982 in a two-part story over issues number 6 and 7. Though they're often referred to as a Russian team, and their name comes from the October Revolution of 1917, which led to the Russian Civil War, they're actually a team of members hailing from various countries that were members of the Warsaw Pact. The team apparently formed around the same time as the G.I. Joe team was put together. I read the comics each month as they were coming out, and when I was a kid, I was always disappointed that Hasbro never made figures for the Oktober Guard because I thought they were great. As an adult, I learned that Hasbro actually did make some figures of the Oktober Guard, after I'd stopped following G.I. Joe toys, of course. But even then, they were originally just a couple of figures for characters that weren't even in the comics that I had read. First, there was a figure in 1991 for a character named Red Star, and then in 1992, a character called Big Bear. I don't remember ever seeing Big Bear in any of the original Marvel run of G.I. Joe, but he's a pretty cool figure, so I picked up a Big Bear figure for the first time just recently. By 1992, the G.I. Joe figures had strayed away from looking like the military toys that had interested me in the beginning, and I just wasn't really all that into them anymore. There really weren't that many figures in 1992 that caught my eye, but I do think Big Bear looks great. According to his file card, Big Bear is the anti-armor specialist for the Oktober Guard. His actual name is Grigory Ivanovich Rostov. Big Bear is a sergeant who also specializes in air assault and is apparently a mean guy with a bad attitude. When looking at Big Bear, you may notice that his uniform is very similar in several ways to the 1960s 1/6 scale Soldiers of the World Russian infantrymen. Several of the Joes over the years have made nods to the original 12-inch figures, but it's rare that they share so many similarities to their older counterparts. Big Bear and the Russian infantrymen both wore a gray fur cap with a red star on the front. They both wore a dark green uniform with black boots, and they both wore brown belts which had a red star on the belt buckle. Unlike the Russian infantrymen, Big Bear had a yellow grenade and a brown knife molded onto his chest. He had a brown pouch molded onto his leg that his file card lists as a field artillery trajectory indicator. I don't really know what that is. He also had a yellow patch printed on his right arm, but I don't know what the patch is supposed to be. If only Big Bear had come with weapons that looked as realistic as those on the 1960s Russian infantrymen. Big Bear's machine gun was okay. His file card lists it as an AK-88, and it does look a little bit like the North Korean Type 88 rifle, only without a clip. The double-barrel rocket launcher is kind of ridiculous, but I've seen some real-world rocket launchers that look similar. It can fire one or both missiles if you place them together correctly in the launcher. His backpack is nice, although pretty generic, and in 1992, fewer figures seemed to come with backpacks, so it was a nice addition. I could do without the figure stand, but I guess if you're going to pose him holding his rocket launcher, he'll need it to stand up. Even though Big Bear was originally available in 1992, it was just the next year in 1993 that a repainted version of Big Bear was included along with repaints of Budo, Spirit, and Big Ben for a mail-order exclusive set called International Action Force. The 1993 mail-order version of Big Bear used the same molds for the figure, but he was primarily black instead of green, and he came with a different rifle and fewer accessories. As I mentioned before, I don't remember ever seeing Big Bear in any of the Marvel comics. He certainly wasn't part of the Oktober Guard that I knew from the earlier comics. However, he did make his way into the cartoons. A strange version of the Oktober Guard had appeared in a few episodes of the original cartoon, beginning with the episode The Invaders, but the Sunbow series had ended by the time Big Bear had arrived on shelves, so he was never part of that version of the team. However, a second, less popular and less well-known cartoon series began in 1989, which did feature Big Bear, as voiced by Canadian voice actor Michael Donovan. Strangely, rather than show up as part of the Oktober Guard, Big Bear was just another Joe in these adventures. The two episodes that featured Big Bear the most were Chunnel, in which he's interrupted from an outdoor game of chess to assist several other Joes in the rescue of the Queen of England and her dog, from Cobra, and the episode Keyboard Warriors, in which a pair of kids accidentally attack Grunt via a Cobra computer when they think they're playing a video game. Big Bear was drawn and colored very much like his action figure, from his dark green uniform with a gray hat featuring a red star to his yellow hand grenade and knife attached to his brown suspenders. Interestingly, in Chunnel, the knife is the same color brown as the suspenders, but in Keyboard Warriors, it's been changed so that a gray-handled knife is mounted to the brown suspenders. Either way, they actually did a good job of making the cartoon version look a lot like the action figure. Big Bear appeared very briefly in a few more episodes of the cartoon, but always for less than 10 seconds and without any additional speaking roles. Big Bear showed up on the box art in 1992 for a vehicle called the Patriot, and also on the box art for the 1992 G.I. Joe headquarters. That seems like an interesting choice when you consider that he's supposed to be part of the Oktober Guard, but by 1992, I guess being part of the Oktober Guard didn't really mean much within the world of G.I. Joe. Since Big Bear came out after I had stopped playing with G.I. Joe, I don't have much of an idea of what people thought of this figure when he was first released. What do you think of Big Bear? Did you have this figure as a kid? Was he right up front in the heat of battle, or was he left behind in the frozen wasteland of your toy box? Tell me in the comments below. Also, please give this video a like and share it on social media. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified when I post new videos. And one last thing, if you're a fan of toys, you should know about ToyLanta, the biggest toy show in the southeastern United States, held annually just north of Atlanta, Georgia. Visit ToyLanta.com for more information. As always, thanks for watching.